ALPR in Illinois. Can everybody hear me okay? Just so before I get started.
We could hear you. I can hear you pretty fine, but
Okay, perfect. Okay. And ALPR, essentially what it stands for is automatic license plate readers. But we're going to specifically be talking about Illinois legislation regarding HB 5151 and HB 5231. Before we really dive into it, just kind of like some overview stuff right now. HB 5151 and 5231 are currently sitting at the House. It's within the Rule Committee currently. And so this is just law that's not yet enacted, but it's in the works. And it's it's very interesting just based off of how the technology works. So what is ALPR? ALPR are just simply cameras that are typically mounted to a variety of things. It could be a street pole, police car, other objects in order to capture all of the license plate numbers that comes within its view. And it also tracks down the location, the date, and the time. Those things are usually called the metadata that's attached to this type of technology. And all of that data is technically stored within the LEADS system. What LEADS is essentially it's a National Crime Information Center in the Illinois Law Enforcement Agency's data center. And so all that information is stored, and there's a 90-day storing period. After that 90 days, the police force or law enforcement, if there's not a ongoing investigation or any real reason to continue to store that data and information, they will then dispose of it, or they're supposed to. A brief overview of ALPR is simply it's derived from the Tamara-Clayton Expressway Camera Act. Came after in 2019 after the shooting death of a postal worker by the name of Tamara Clayton on Interstate 57. And so, in response to the tragic death of Mrs. Tamara, the Illinois legislature decided that there was time that they come out with some type of assisting in highway hazards and incident management. So, essentially, what the act is going, what it does now is that the use of technology of the ALPR technology in investigating the following crimes would be vehicular hijacking, aggravated vehicular hijacking, terrorism, motorcycle theft, and for any forcible felonies. And that's in addition to any ongoing investigation. So if a police officer investigating a bank robbery that may have happened downtown, they can use this tracking data to see where and what time that car was in a specific location. And it rolls right into crime prevention. So ALPR assists police as the camera captures the plate number and vital data, and then that is stored within the database. The database could be leads, and it can supplement law enforcement investigations, and almost as if help them in their investigation process. Vehicle theft can be found through these cameras tracking their location. If an investigator links a specific vehicle to a terrorist, then ALPR data can be used to trace back the date, the time, and location that the vehicle was last seen. The ALPR can also assist authorities in finding missing persons through Amber Alerts. And in addition, it can help with investigators reconstruct vehicle movements before and after crashes, identifying witnesses and vehicles involved within a specific offense or accident that may have occurred in a specific area. So the changes that are currently being made with AOPR is specifically to Illinois, are the privacy issues and the Fourth Amendment issues that come with it. Currently, as I've been going through my internship, I've been writing a memo on ALPR data in general, and then as an overview, the federal and then Illinois approach to it all. And so, one of the biggest hurdles that I've seen just going through my research is the Fourth Amendment implications that give regular citizens like us privacy rights, right? And so, under a specific case that just came out, which is Skull v. Illinois State Police, and we'll go through that a little bit more in depth. Specifically in that case, what I found was that the ALPR data that was being used it was a question of was there a reasonable expectation of privacy? And so a lot of the time when we go through a Fourth Amendment analysis, especially a constitutional one like this, those are the typical questions that we're going to ask is was there a reasonable expectation to our normal citizen or a reasonable person, right? Looking from the outside in saying, okay, do I expect privacy within this area? Do I expect privacy when I drive my car on a city street? And so in response, two bills were introduced, and that's 5151 and 5231. a side-by-side picture of kind of how both well, I don't want to say statutes, but current bills are looked at is 5151 is creating a comprehensive ALPR law. And it really kind of targets to strengthen the privacy protections of everyday citizens like us. And so it limits the misuse that officers may have been doing through their investigations or through capturing that type of data. And then it creates a strong enforcement mechanism as well when those things are violated, when those rules or misuse regulations that may have been put through the bill is violated. That's kind of where the enforcement mechanisms are going to play in at. It's kind of like an accountability measure. It's kind of the way I like to think about it. Under 5231, it's going to limit the ALPR use, right? So only specific things that a police officer or an investigator can use the technology for. That's what this is basically targeting. And so it really wants to create a statewide oversight and protect privacy, of course, and then increase accountability and transparency. So under HB 5151, specifically as a comprehensive ALPR law, it's going to try to establish statewide rules governing how law enforcement and other government entities can collect and use the data itself. In addition, 5151 is going to strengthen privacy protections and transparency across the board. So it's going to restrict the unauthorized use of the data or data sharing. It's going to require some security safeguards and audit logging, and then limits the disclosure. This is really important because currently a, a person or a police officer, investigator, whoever can go through these databases without like a serious justification, and then they can look up numbers to license plates. I mean, really anything, the date, the time, location, wherever they seen it. Something that I heard, this is like a little side note, something that I heard on social media, and this is something I was like, I just watched, was a video, it was a guy explaining how the misuse was kind of found where like police officers like they'll leave for the gym or they'll go to like a coffee shop and they'll see a person's license plate number. So it could be a young lady or whoever it might be, and they will take that license plate number and put it into the system and then try to look up the date, the time, the location where that vehicle was for whatever, maybe for that day, maybe for the day prior. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is these statutes or these bills, excuse me, are really trying to target that type of misuse to where we keep it in the law enforcement scope of it all. And again, along with mandating public meetings before ALPR implementation, written privacy policies, annual reports, and statewide reporting by the Illinois Secretary of State are also required. Under 5151, kind of piggybacking off of the last point with the misuse, it's going to restrict when ALPR data can be preserved or disclosed. It requires a court approval for extended retention and makes improperly obtained ALPR evidence generally inadmissible. If this is broken, it will impose a penalty for violations, allow agencies to lose their ALPR privileges, voids non-compliant vendor contracts, and gives individuals the right to sue for damages caused by unlawful ALPR use. A kind of a phrase that I learned in my constitutional law class was the fruit from the poisonous tree. And so if there is misuse in how officers or investigators are using this type of data, right, that can be the fruit from the poisonous tree, and that cannot be admissible in a court of law. So this is really all important, especially when we're thinking about investigations that go on year, right, for a multitude of different types of offenses. And so we want to let officers do their job, but there has to be some type of accountability measure in how they're going about storing this data, using the data, and then also sharing it maybe with other departments or with the federal government. Additionally, it's 5231 is going to limit ALPR use. It's the same thing that 5151 is going to do, and it's going to allows police to use the ALPR data only for the specific public safety purposes, such as criminal investigations, locating missing people or endangered persons, and identifying stolen vehicles or licenses. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay, sorry. Okay, so under 5231, it's going to create a statewide oversight with privacy protections. So, in summary, it's really going to just require the Illinois law enforcement agencies to purchase and use only state-approved ALPR systems and vendors. This is important because it restricts a public body, such as a police force or um, a police bureau, to go out and hire private vendors to use their ALPR technology, because this is like a copy and paste thing. You can create this as a vendor, and you can get a government contract through those source and means. So if there is a checks and balance system where you can't just go out and purchase this from a private vendor, but from a state approved vendor, that kind of secures the privacy interests that are involved, because you don't want that vendor that you go to give out that information, share that information with other companies without the express use or without the express permission from not only the people, but also the bureau and the police investigation agencies. So in total, it's going to really require the license plate data to be collected by a state-approved ALPR systems to be deleted after a set period of time. So generally after 21 days, unless it's needed for an authorized investigation, and it limits the access to the information. I don't know if you guys remember, but in the beginning, there is a 90-day retention policy. So now this is kind of making it a little bit more time stricter, where after that 21 days, if there's not a justifiable reason as to why you're storing this data, things can change. And then at that point, we have a law here or a bill that kind of creates that checks and balance to where it doesn't go past a certain day threshold. Again, 5231 is going to increase the accountability and transparency between police force and the people. In summary, it's going to require that the agency adopt public policies, conduct audits, and publish annual reports on ALPR usage, searches, vehicle stops, and misuse. If the agency misuses their ALPR data, it will impose a penalty for violations, allows agencies to lose ALPR privileges, voids non-complaint vendor contracts, and gives individuals the right to sue for damages caused by unlawful ALPR use. So this is kind of a repeated version from the slide prior, but essentially this is just to increase the transparency, but the accountability on behalf of police forces, especially when they're going about their investigations and how they're getting this evidence to convict some people, charge people, and whatnot. So who does HB 5151 and 5231 affect? It affects the entire state. Both, you can argue they both really affect the entire state and citizens within Illinois. But HB 5231 really only affects specifically law enforcement agencies because it's a transparency type of bill. It's really holding officers accountable for kind of the use of the technology, but making sure that officers have justifiable reasons of why they're using it in the first place. So under 5151, it's going to impose regulations on how all actors can utilize ALPR technology. And government agencies, attorneys are listed as one of the main actors who may use ALPR technology. And it also establishes transparency, usage, and enforcement regarding ALPR technology across the board within the state of Illinois. On the flip side, 5231 is really going to focus on the privacy rights while still allowing the police officers to do their job and use the technology reader for a legitimate investigation or a legitimate purpose. It creates a statewide standard for the technology. So it's not allowing one police department to use the technology a certain way opposed than the other, right? It's holding it at the same level, at the same board, right? You need a reason of why you're using the technology. If you don't have that reason past that 21-day marker, or as of right now, that 90-day marker, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to use this technology for that specific investigation, especially if you don't intend to charge someone, you don't intend to convict, especially if this type of technology is used improperly, to say the least. And if you're using it for an improper purpose, right, you're not going to be able to convict the people that you're quote unquote saying that you're investigating. So this is why this is very, very important. And then again, it's going to create oversight and transparency. So that auditing system that the 5231 is trying to promote, it's saying, hey, every time you use it, we kind of want to know why or what was the purpose. And it's the tracking system. And the annual report is going to better support that too, where you get more of an oversight of, all right, for what types of crimes are police officers using ALPR data? Are they using it for justifiable reasons? And then the good thing about 5231 is that it's going to dock and audit the times that ALPR has been misused. So across the board, it's really setting a standard of the privacy rights and also targeting improper use of the technology and making sure that it's the same across the board for every agency within Illinois. So. Why is ALPR technology important, but controversial? ALPR tracking systems usage has members of the community either supporting or opposing the technology, and proponents are arguing that ALPR allows for much more convenience for law enforcement agencies. The technology allows law enforcement officials, when conducting criminal investigations for various offenses, and the technology can be used as evidence in a court of law to strengthen a prosecutor's case. Opponents argue that while you can catch criminals, what about an average citizen's car, right? The average person. When I drive, I live in Evergreen, so I drive past these things a lot, and I'm just a regular guy going to Dunkin' Donuts. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where a lot of people are coming from, where it's like, we're just doing daily living. Like, you're capturing our license plates for what reason? An additional thing that is that the information collected, by the ALPR systems, like what's happening to it, right? If is it being stored and, after 21 days, does it delete, or can you go back and look at it? Or after a year or so, can an officer in a later investigation go back and look at photos of your license plate that was taken maybe 2 years ago or a year ago, whatever, or whatnot, for a separate investigation, right? These are just questions that people are asking, and they're fair questions. ALPR usage is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, the reasonable expectation searches. That was something that we brought up earlier, especially when we talk about Fourth Amendment constitutional law, right? Was there a reasonable expectation of privacy, and was that expectation violated by the police or a law enforcement agency? And that is a very fair question. It's a question that I've been trying to answer now with this memo because it's a fair question. Um, an additional thing is that it can be used in bad faith by law enforcement officials. So what I mean by bad faith is kind of the example I brought up earlier, where a police officer sees a young lady walking out the gym, and he takes a picture of her license plates, and he goes to the station, and he puts the license plate number in, and now he knows like the next place that she's going, and he knows what she's been doing for the past 2 days and where she's been. That's like that is a clear cut, I mean, in my opinion, a violation of a person's Fourth Amendment right. But outside of that, that is the misuse that HB 5151 is, and 51 or 5231 is trying to correct, and trying to really approach it in a way where it's on the same level, the same standard. You have to have a reason for using this technology. You can't just, look up a person's license plate because you wanted her number and you were scared to talk to her in the first place. So but overall though, that's the bad faith, that's an example of the bad faith that's being used from this technology. In conclusion, both bills are designed to prevent total ambiguity in the capturing and distribution process of ALPR data. Both bills are requiring press conferences and official publication of how ALPR is being utilized, and adding a layer of transparency that does not hinder with the overall quality of ALPR data collection. These bills are currently sitting in the Rules Committee in the Illinois Senate, and it's waiting for changes to be made or more deliberation, excuse me, regarding the wording of each bill. But for the most part, it's on its way. It's taking time, but we are cutting close. So I'm really excited to see if it even gets enacted and it passes the Rule Committee, but I'm sure it will. Without further ado, I will extend the chat or the lobby for questions or any comments. I would love to hear your guys' mindsets and what you think about this. And yeah,
Can I say something?
sure.
This is Willie. Here. I think I understand. This is the first time I ever broached on this, the automatic license plates readers. But I've heard about them, and I'm just wondering. You mentioned that the officers have to have a reason to utilize this system, right?
Yes, sir.
Um, you know, I don't understand what that mean. He has to have a reason because people make up stuff all the time. So that's what I'm kind of concerned about. In this bill, I'm wondering, does that cover, the reasoning behind why you would use that thing? Because they have to sign in, right? Or
Yes.
whatever to get their information. So
Yes,
it kind
sir.
of so it's a tracking device on there. But I'm just wondering, the way things are going, the world is teaching me now there's some crafty people out there. So
Yes, sir.
they're scientists at this is my reason. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah.
Well,
I
to give you some, I guess,
yeah.
a deeper understanding about just like where the technology is even rooted from, it's really rooted in a municipality, especially a local municipality's police power, right? And so, what a police power is, it allows a municipality to govern its own, and to provide for the safety and welfare for its own citizens. And so when we hear safety and we hear welfare and those type of words, the next thought is how does a government implement that? And over the years and many, many years, the government has done various things to, just to implement more safety measures, right? And so the justification on behalf of what I've read from law enforcement agencies is just that it really does, I guess the technology really does help with tracking missing people and vehicle hijacking. And as Chicago is crazy too, so there's been, I mean, various theft crimes, especially with vehicles within the city. So when we think about this technology and how it's implemented, I mean, I don't deny that their justification is fair. But where it does get scary and to really piggyback off of your point is there is room for misuse. And the good thing about these two bills is that it's really going to hold police officers and law enforcement agencies at one level. And what that level is you need to have a justification, right? So if you are investigating a person who is involved in a crime and you think that this person stole a vehicle, right? ALPR law is essentially in the statute that both these bills are going to allow you to look up their license plate numbers and to verify that the vehicle that they do drive is their own, not someone else's, right? So if let's God forbid never happen, but let's say I stole Wilma's car, right? And a police officer sees me driving on the ALPR photos. They see me driving and they tag her license plate. It pops up and they see me in the front seat driving. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like that adds to a more of a fair justification on behalf of police officers and law enforcement agencies when implementing this technology. It's just that's the big thing that you mentioned that they're trying to fix with this bill is okay, hey, we have this technology, police officers are using them. It is working on one side, but on the flip side, it's not working because police officers are misusing this type of technology. So what can we do? Well, let's hold them at one standard. We're going to have an auditing report. We're going to have annual reports. We're going to make you justify and tell us, especially the people, right? Because this is going to be public data, especially if this bill is implemented into law, right? This is going to be stuff that you're going to be able to see. They're going to have to share it. And if they don't, we have the good thing is that the Citizens Advocacy Center is really good at FOIA reports and um, FOIA request. What that is just the Freedom of Information Act, and essentially it's just a way for you as a regular citizen, just like me, to go to the government and say, "Hey, I would like to see a body cam footage. I would like to see a police report, or I would like to see X, Y, and Z of what type, whatever that you're using." So ALPR technology is the best example. I want to see the auditing report for this past year of how you use this technology, and I want to know how many times have you misused it. And this bill is really going to allow for that to happen.
I just want to quick jump in and clarify something. As the center, we do not take official positions on any legislation. Our goal and our job is to educate you guys on what these pending legislations are. And of course, part of education is what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks of the bill. But we do not have specific positions on either of the HB 5151 or 53. But what we encourage is that you contact your local state representative if you have questions about figuring out who that is. We're always happy to help. contact your state representative to find out how they stand on the issue and what other concerns there may be, and let them know. Once you have an opinion, let them know what it is as well. But it is not our position to say pro or con on the bill at this time.
Okay, yeah, I hope I didn't say anything that made you think that I was heading in that direction, because I had
No,
it in my mind, but I didn't think it was the place for it. So I agree with you. And
yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah,
You did not
yeah,
say, you and Brandon neither
yeah.
said anything wrong. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, copy.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay? Just wanted to add something really quick to that point too. Like also there are just a ton of penalties in each of the bills, and they just vary in severity. But pretty much like in 5231, violators can receive a class one misdemeanor, which can sway your opinion.
Are there any other questions? Please, thoughts. Yes. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Mr. Kuhner? Mr. and Mrs. Kuhner, excuse me.
Keener.
Keener, sorry, Keener. Okay, sorry.
So there is never the word warrant used in this entire discussion. So yeah, all this information is being gathered without a warrant, and that's the reason for the Fourth Amendment concern. Is there any talk about putting any kind of guardrails on that?
As far as the warrant requirement, sir.
Yes.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And I appreciate you even mentioning that. Thank you. Yes, so 100%. And that is really to kind of boost and justify the reasons of why you're even retaining that data for that extra period of time. So like in the beginning, when I brought up the 90-day retention requirement, past that 90 days, it's going to come in front of a judge at some point, and that judge is going to then rule and justify and decide, okay, are you even allowed to continue having this information, whether you have a warrant or whether it's to continue an investigation that you've been doing for maybe the past year, 2 years, whatever the case might be. For whatever reason, if that investigation is going longer than that 90 days, regardless, you're going to need that justification from a tribunal to say, hey, okay, you can use or you can continue to use this data. Um, but I do appreciate that you mentioned it, and I can look more in depth. If I can get your email, I would love to send you some information, especially for any information I find regarding that warrant requirement. But to answer your question, yes, you would need a warrant. Um, but on the flip side, if it's a justifiable investigation and you have proof through a certain period of time to justify, hey, we're continuing to investigate, we're continuing to look into whatever offense that we're trying to put together, law enforcement agencies are allowed to do that and to continue to use ALPR data for that reason alone.
Okay, but the the information is gathered um, before there's any investigation going on. So
Yes,
that's a Fourth Amendment question also.
100%. 100%. From what the cases that I've been looking at, a lot of the time the standard that courts are using, it's derived from a Supreme Court case called US v. Katz, and it's just the reasonable expectation of privacy searches standard. And at that point, that question and that standard, it gets tricky because it really falls on of what a reasonable person within the community, what they would think as their right of privacy in that specific circumstance or situation, especially regarding whatever the investigation is about in the first place. But yes, I'm with you. It definitely implicates a Fourth Amendment standard, especially when you're collecting data, especially of personal people's stuff like their license plate numbers, because that data also comes with tracking. I mean, it's literally following you around, if you drive in like a local city or municipality, And what kind of makes it even more of a Fourth Amendment issue is because it's the time and it's giving the date and it's giving the pinpoint like coordinate location of where you're at, and then it's storing like photos, because there are some out there that take photos, not just of the license plate, but of the vehicle itself and the license plate. So yeah, these are all concerns that have definitely like that's been on my mind and it's been on a lot of the minds of the people who are actually for both the bills and who are opposing both the bills at the end of the day. I hope it's okay to read the question. For right now, I'll just say I won't say the person who submitted it, but there was a question in the chat. I was told that a consumer group who uncovered Illinois police misuse of flock data had issues with at least one of these bills because it may limit their ability to analyze and report violations under the Trust Act. That's a great point. Apparently, police shared data was shared with federal immigration agents. Yes, Miss Mary. Yes, that's another issue with ALPR data is it is because without like these two bills that are currently sitting within the Rules Committee, um, police officers and agencies were able to share this data with other agencies, right? And that kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying with this situation. Yeah, like they're from one agency is giving it to, ICE agents, or one agency is giving it to the federal government. And that's yeah, like I'm with you. But the good thing is that the both those bills are actually targeting those types of things. So if there's not a justified reason of why the one agency is sharing it with the other, you run into those problems now because with bills like this, it's going to hold a transparency, but also accountability factor too, where, if you're violating that and you're sending it to another agency, we're already going to see it in the annual report. That's a great thing that's going to do. It's because it's going to provide just information of how many times it's been shared and who it's been shared with and why. And I think that gives a lot of transparency, at least from my like the way I'm seeing it, to just people who want to know what you're using the information for in the first place. I hope I'm answering everybody's questions, by the way. I'm sorry if I'm not. If I have to be more specific, please send me an email. I can put my email in the chat. I would love to continue to talk about this because I'm very passionate about this topic. But yeah, no, but I appreciate the questions though. I really, really do.
So which law enforcement agencies uh, are empowered by these bills? Is this just local police or
This is just
county
Illinois.
police?
Yeah, this is like just Illinois state. As of right now, there could be federal action across the board for all states, but as of right now, the two bills are really targeting just all Illinois agencies, state agencies, excuse me, for police force and local municipalities.
So would federal agencies be able to uh, log in and to the lead system and get this information?
You know what? Yeah, my boss, she was a prosecutor prior to being the executive director, and I think she could better answer that, especially with leads. I never worked with leads personally. I only learned about it in school, so I can tell you the book version of what I know, but I don't know if that would be accurate. I think Ethan has his hand raised. Go ahead, Ethan, or maybe that's an accident. Who knows? I don't know.
My data on leads is a little outdated. I haven't been there in some time, but when I was there, it was statewide, and the federal information was separate. I don't know specifically if
I
that just
think I
isn't.
lagged enough. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Um, sorry, Sheila. You could go ahead if you were saying something. But, what I was going to say is that there are currently a lot of national steps regarding ALPR. Currently in the Senate too, there's an amendment created by Ray Garcia that is looking to only limit ALPR to tollway purposes. along with other bills, like in New Mexico, there's one from third-party agencies investigating.
Ethan got cut off, but it sounded like what he was saying is that there are some attempts to address this on the national level as well, so that it isn't just piecemeal. This state does one thing, this state does another. We have seen that there are other ALPR legislation going on in other states, and it sounds like there is some potential federal legislation as well.
Yes. You're welcome. My internet's working now.
Is anybody in Illinois collecting this information currently?
Private citizens?
No, law enforcement.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. If it doesn't, if it, as long as it falls under that 90 day or well, it'll change, but as long as it falls under the 90-day threshold, yes, you can store it for whatever justifiable reason they may have. But after that 90-day period, that's where that cutoff will come in at, and then it's okay, what are you storing it for, and is that reason justifiable to maybe your intent or kind of how you're going about your investigation in the first place. So as long as those two things correlate with each other, they can get a tribunal to accept, and they can continue to store it, if it's for that specific investigation, or if it's something for a separate investigation that they may be looking into, they can do that as well.
So these two bills are just trying to establish ground rules on how the existing collection of information is governed.
100%. And more specifically, it's really targeting the privacy interest of the American people, specifically Illinois residents. And then tying that with what you were discussing as far as Fourth Amendment law, that reasonable expectation, and that reasonable expectation searches that's considered a search or some type of search to gain some type of information. Yes, it's really like a transparency, accountability, like you name it, like really those two big things is what those two bills are really trying to do. Especially in the internal law enforcement level, because it may force them to enact some policies to prevent violating this law. And so that's another good influence that this bill has, is it's really going to really promote, like, we want you to have a justifiable reason. We don't want you just storing this data for no reason at all, and then, picking it out and saying, oh, well, we have a reason because we're investigating now. So that's what the bill is just really trying to do across the board, is to have it at one level across the board for all agencies within Illinois.
And then is there anything in these bills that would make rules for how federal law enforcement agencies get access to data collected in Illinois?
That's an excellent question, sir. And I don't know the answer to it. If could I have your email? Because you asked me a really good question. I really want to answer it, because I I I don't even want to answer it, because off the top of my head I want to say no, but I don't I want to get you a good answer, just because like you're asking really good questions right now.
Okay, I put my email address in the chat.
Thank you so much.
And has anybody filed a Fourth Amendment lawsuit saying you're violating my privacy by recording my license plate when I drive down the street?
Yes, yes. In the Northern District, there was unfortunately, they didn't win. The people who were challenging, just ALPR as a whole. But here I have my notes. Let's see. I want to get you the correct name for this case. Let's see. I'm gonna put the case name in the chat, and then that way. Let's see. Okay. So the case, the name of it is Skull v. Illinois State Police. And one of the issues in that case did discuss the privacy interest, specifically Fourth Amendment privacy interest, that comes with the usage of ALPR technology. What's important to note is that they didn't win, but they didn't win based off of oh, I'm sorry. I saw another comment in the chat, but they didn't win just based off of reasons alone of lack of standing. The court also discussed some things about them not stating a claim on which relief can be granted, and that's like a procedural thing. So, but I don't lose hope in what they're arguing because going in and reading it, their arguments are fair, especially when we talk about reasonable expectation of searches and that following system, right? That ALPR really provides law enforcement agencies. If I walk out my house and I drive to the Target and then I go down the street to the Walmart, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get, you know, whatever my license plate is gonna get captured about maybe 2 to 3 times. And so that's a lot of what the proponents were arguing in the case was that alone is a reasonable expectation and a privacy violation in a sense because you're following me, you know what I mean? And you know exactly what my location is at all times. I mean, or throughout the day, essentially. And it's easy to track it because it gives you the date and the time and the coordinates. Um, but the reason why I don't lose hope is because their arguments not only were fair, but if as long as they fix the issue of trying to, establish a claim that they can bring to court that really boosts their ability to bring the case back up, and to relitigate it out, in a sense of trying to get some type of more accountability measures for ALPR, because that's essentially what they're really trying to promote. And the good thing is that we have these laws that are or bills, excuse me, that are, currently in the process to really target accountability as a whole and transparency. But let's see. Oh, that's still.
Brandon, I don't know if you can see, there's a question. What organization or law firm represented the plaintiffs in that lawsuit, if you know?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I don't know, but I think my Lexus membership may let me find out. Let's see. Let me see. I can get that for you.
While Brandon is looking that up, I just want to take this opportunity to again thank you all so much for attending this evening. This is clearly an important topic that needs to be have more public awareness. I also want to invite you all. We are going to have another forum 2 weeks from today, the 23rd, which is going to touch on the Illinois Trust Act. The Illinois Trust Act is the act that prohibits local law enforcement from cooperating with federal officials absent a warrant or other strict requirements. So we'll be talking about how that act has been implemented, and we have other interns doing research on local municipalities and how they have responded to the Trust Act. We also, on Wednesday, July 29th, we will be having Democracy Night. That is an in-person presentation at the Wilder Mansion here in Elmhurst. All 6 of our summer interns will be presenting on topics such as these. There will be another in-depth presentation about the Trust Act at that time, another presentation on ALPR where we hope to address some of these additional questions that have been raised today. We have a presentation scheduled on the Voting Rights Act and other issues of importance at this time. For more information on these events and other events at the center, please visit our website, www.citizenadvocacycenter.org, and you can register for the Trust Act Forum or Democracy Night on the website. And I would very much love to see you all there and to meet you all in person.
Liberty Justice Center. Oh, thank you, Ms. Mary. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And good job, Ethan, too. He did a lot of work, especially with the PowerPoints. So I couldn't do this without him.
Thank you. Sorry, my internet's just like really, really bad.
Right, if there's no further questions or comments, again, my name is Sheila O'Grady. I'm the executive director here. We are located at 188 Industrial Drive in Elmhurst. I am here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So if you ever want to come by and discuss in person, you're always welcome to drop in. You can always give us a call, check out our website, or send me an email. I will put my email in the chat as well. And again, I urge you all to attend our Democracy Night. It's free. There's going to be some good food and some good conversation. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. I'll put my email in the chat and then thank you.